Hello, thanks for being in a new video. This time I have the VIVO V30 with me and I'm going to tell you what I like the most and the least after testing it, in case you're considering buying it. So as always, let me tell you not to buy the VIVO V30 without watching this video. We consider its launch price, which in Mexico was 15,999 pesos. On the screen you see the reference price in dollars, and obviously I must remind you that the prices here are not the same as those there. In Mexico the price is exaggeratedly high, which makes it a little more complicated to recommend it, although like any device it will have positive and negative points for its price range. But surely if it is much cheaper in other countries, I think it would become a more attractive option. But in Mexico I think it is not attractive at all for this price unless you find it on sale. Let's start with what I like the most. It has a very nice design. It's slim, very light, and even the back cover has a nice pattern. So if you're looking for a nice cell phone, this can be an interesting option to choose. Also, having a curved screen makes it look very attractive. The screen has a resolution higher than Full HD and supports HDR. So in these respects, I think it is a screen that stands out at this price. With respect to audio at the software level, we have something very good. It allows us to control the volume of each application independently and allows us to send the sound of certain applications to a Bluetooth speaker and make the sound of other applications remain on the device. This, is a very useful tool, for example, in some parties. If you have Spotify playing on your speaker and then you want to watch a TikTok video on your cell phone, you can perfectly well have those sounds redirected. And that feature is something that almost no other cell phone has, only Samsung. The camera's beauty mode is impressively comprehensive. It allows you to modify everything you can imagine about your face. It has way too many settings, so I can easily tell you that it's the most extensive beauty mode I've seen in the industry. It also takes very good portraits, even at the Zoom 2x setting. The camera experience then seems to me to be of a good standard, especially in these aspects. In video recording, it gives you templates that you can fill in so you don't have to edit your video. So, for content creators who are just starting out, maybe it can be an attractive option. The front camera has autofocus and even allows you to zoom. Those are features that will really elevate your video recording experience. So, for recording vlogs, it could be a pretty good experience, although in this price range you obviously start to find other high-end devices that are going to be better in other aspects than this device. That is why it is very complicated to recommend this one, especially at the price in Mexico, as I said at the beginning. The system lets you have a pretty good customization. It allows you to modify certain animations or the speed of the animations and other features that generally other manufacturers do not allow. The 80-watt charger is included in the box and it is very fast. In 15 minutes it recovered 41% of the charge, so really the experience is very good, and in only 42 minutes it got up to 100%. If you are one of those people who like to charge your cell phone for a while and want to keep using it, it is a highly recommended option. Finally, it comes with 512 gigabytes of storage. In this sense, definitely the experience is totally good because most high-end devices start at 128 gigabytes still. At best, they start at 256. But finding 512 is a very positive thing. But now let me tell you what I didn't like. It has no Gorilla Glass, no Scott Sensation app, or any other special glass to protect it. And having a curved screen, it obviously gives the feeling of greater fragility. And if we are not assured that it has a certain level of protection, this concern becomes greater. It has IP54 certification for the price range. Obviously what we expected was IP68 certification, so we expected it to be submersible and not just splash resistant. At this price, it disappoints a lot because of that. It only has mono sound. And again, if we go to the launch price in Mexico, this is unacceptable. One must necessarily demand stereo sound, so it disappoints a lot in this aspect. Also, it does not offer an equalizer, so the whole audio experience is very low. The capture speed is a bit slow, as is the burst. So it is not a device with which you are going to be able to take action scenes or sports scenes that require a very fast speed because it takes some time to finish the photo. The ultra-wide camera has chromatic aberration and some distortion at the edges, and while we could somewhat accept this in cheaper devices, again being such an expensive device, I highlight it as a point that I did not like. The zoom is pretty bad. I think it doesn't get to take good advantage of the sensor, so there is little detail. It feels like nothing more than a stretched photograph. The ultra-wide camera can only record in full HD at 30 frames per second. At this price, we can demand it to record in 4K or at least full HD at 60 frames per second. But in this case, it feels like it has very limited capabilities. It doesn't have a professional mode for video recording, and again, this is something we could very well demand from it in the price range, as even cheaper devices do have a manual mode for video recording, whereby you can tweak focus, shutter speed, ISO, and other parameters. And the video recording doesn't really stand out much. The video quality feels lower than expected. In backlight, it struggles a lot. At night, the front camera also struggles a lot. So even though it has interesting features with respect to video and content creation, I think it doesn't quite round out the experience enough for me to recommend it. Its policy is 2 years of Android updates and 3 years of security patches. While it is a good thing that they offer us a clear policy, I think that in the price range again falls short. We would expect a higher level of updates. The optical engine is on the Z-axis. This is also something a bit difficult to explain, but believe me, at this price point, it is something we don't like. The vibration motor is very simple. It feels like from a much cheaper device, when at this price it is already a must that we find a motor on the X-axis or more advanced motors that give the experience of a hand-tapping feedback and not just plain vibration. I insist, it is something very difficult to explain and I cannot show it through a video, but when you use the cell phone on the keyboard or in some lists or other elements, you feel an experience of a cell phone much more. Economical. The management of applications running in the background is very aggressive. That is, in order to have a good enough autonomy, it will close the applications that you are not using in a very intense way. So as a user, you have to select which apps you want it not to suspend, because otherwise it will close them, and even if you tell it not to suspend them, sometimes it will suspend them. So this can be a bit annoying, especially if you are going to use a watch or a headset of another brand that need you to install their application, because the phone is likely to be constantly suspending it. It doesn't have battery protection modes, it doesn't have wireless charging. So these two aspects can also be reproached for the price at which it is distributed in Mexico. Even its proximity sensor is virtual. And that I have already explained, it generates that sometimes you have inconsistencies when making calls or listening to WhatsApp audios, because sometimes it may not detect very well that you have the cell phone nearby. In addition, it supports Wi-Fi 5 networks. At this price, again, we would ask for something more modern, Wi-Fi 6 as a minimum, although there are already other devices that support up to Wi-Fi 7, but we would demand that only in the most expensive devices. Also, Vivo has an extremely small ecosystem, so if you wanted a very pleasant interaction experience between cell phone, laptop, headphones, tablets, and other things, you will definitely not find it here. We are only offered headphones, and at the moment, the Snapdragon 7 Gen 3 doesn't feel as good as it should. Although this may simply be a matter of it being a new processor, and with some updates and optimizations by games and apps it could improve, but at the moment it feels like the processor is falling short. Obviously you will notice this if you are a very demanding user in terms of performance, but if not, maybe you will feel that it performs normally without any slowness. But if you already bought it, let me know your opinion in the comments, especially if you are not from Mexico.
Tell me how much it costs in your country so we can see what the price difference is in other countries compared to the price of this device in Mexico. Let me know what you like the most and what you like the least, so that other users can also read your experience. For the moment, we have reached the end of this video.